Hey everyone, welcome back to the Track Limits podcast. We're here in Crater Club Studios. I'm joined by my co-host Mikey.
Hello, hello.
We're back from the summer break. The Dutch Grand Prix just finished, and we got another home race winner, Lando Norris and the McLaren's with that Orange Army. I mean, what a dominant win. We're about to get into that, but man, I'm shocked. I am shocked. Coming into the summer break, everyone was like, yeah, McLaren's still top dogs. Max is still pushing this car to its limits and still outperforming most of those drivers. And then what we saw today was something we expected Max to do at the beginning of the season, but Lando Norris with a 20-second gap to end this race.
It was incredible.
It was a staple.
I think it was actually, I looked at the end, I think it was 22 seconds. But the surprising part was, sure, everyone's going to be like, oh, but Max did that at the start of the season. But like Max to Leclerc, there was 6 seconds, and then come near the end, it was down to 4 seconds. So it's not like the Red Bull have that pace anymore. You just have to worry that like Lando did a great job today. Can he keep that up? We started chatting before this episode here, and we were like, okay, in the points right now, you have drivers. Max is 295, Lando's 225. That's 70 points. Wow. You ran the numbers. So what? Lando has to win? I'll let you.
Pretty much, yeah. Lando has to win every race. So there's 9 more races to go. And he also has to get the fastest lap to equalize in points. So that means Max pretty much has to do something lower than a P2. I mean, like we said, a DNF will change everything dramatically if Lando wins. That's a 25-point gap just erased within one race. Now, we have seen it's very rare for Max to DNF, but because Red Bull is struggling a lot now, the chances are quite high. I don't know what the data is, but like you said, at the end of the race, if he's losing that much pace, that means he's managing a problem or he's managing a tire that can't stay in its window.
He even said today, he was like, I don't know, was it even the tires in that window, but he couldn't turn the car in turn 10. And then a couple of laps later, he's like, what did he say? He says he can't. The inputs he's inputting, the car can't keep up with. So he has to dial back his inputs, calm down his driving style just to manage that car. And Checo's a perfect excuse now. He's like, hey, man, he's struggling with the car. And Perez did well today. Let's give him credit. Top 6.
He did. But again, we can talk about the Ferraris because they were another big surprise of this weekend. But it was hard to see him lose that position at the beginning, especially because he was on the racing line, I believe.
Perez?
Yeah.
No, I think Perez was on
P5.
He was on the other side because it was Lando racing line, Max off the line, Piastri on the racing line, George off the line.
He was on the racing line.
Oh, he was.
Yeah,
actually,
he was. Yeah, he was on the racing line, and he lost that. He was sandwiched in between Piastri and George. Which kind of made sense. But again, his pace, even if they were trying to match it and try to show it against Max, his pace was way off. It's just way off. Yes, this car is something they struggled with, and it was pretty much the same corners that both drivers are struggling with, which makes sense. This car is very hard to drive for them right now. It is not putting the same inputs that they want in both drivers, which kind of sucks because there's been so many rumors over the summer break about new technical directives or new initiatives that were happening with the FIA, and they were saying, oh, Red Bull had this advantage at the beginning of the season that was wiped off with this new introduction in the rear braking.
I wasn't even,
it was a talk of the summer break because they were like, oh, that's why they've started to do bad now because like pretty much what happened to Aston Martin last year with those changes that happened. So it's interesting because if that is going to be the reason, we should have saw it much earlier on. I know it was later on. They've had a good dominant 6-7 races before McLaren brought their upgrades.
But even you said yourself, like the Red Bull upgrades, the direction they're going is like the Aston Martin direction. It was good. Now it's not. They spent 3 months development. They have to do some back changes. Because I think was it Adrian Newey or Marco come out and said, we're taking bits of new components and bits of old components and see if they can mesh together. Or as you said earlier, they'll probably revert back to the old package. But I'll give Perez credit. If you looked at the replay of the launch off the line, Lando and Max, same reaction time, but I think Lando was too gentle on the accelerator or too lucidly on the clutch. Let's just say he wanted to be a little bit extra cautious. Piastri, bad start as well. But Max and Sergio, if you look at Sergio got a blistering start, but he was blocked.
Yeah.
So fair play to him there. But overall, like Piastri, he was lacking that.
He was having an off weekend, I think.
Maybe he was conserving those tires.
Yeah.
Because when he did push, he pushed. Yeah. But at the first 20, 30 laps, you were wondering like, oh, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. And it wasn't even just that. Yes, they went on the longer stint and they made him pit much later on because they anticipate that they have an amazing car because they're looking at Lando's pace.
They have the best car.
Exactly. They're like, okay, you can fight through the front end and get there. But then he couldn't even pass Charles Leclerc. Charles was matching his pace. When he pushed, Charles pushed. Yeah. When he was conserving, he conserved. Which kind of shows it's like, well, are we seeing the same thing? It's too early to call of like a Max versus a Checo in terms of pace-wise.
No, not going to entertain that for a second. Also, this track is, I don't want to say it's notoriously difficult to overtake, but Piastri was so long within a very, like half a second to Charles. He never maximized in let's say the first 4 laps he was doing that. Yeah. So he was in turbulent air. He was probably wrecking his tires.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
But Piastri, I want to give him credit. He's got some great speed in free air, but I think you said it a while back ago, his racecraft mightn't be there.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes he struggles to get those overtakes. But I would not put Lando and Piastri as same as Max and Checo. I think Piastri deserves a little bit more credit than.
But I can go back and say, like, look at what Lewis Hamilton did from starting P15, and within a few laps in the beginning stint, he was back in like P8, P9.
Soft compound tire though. He blitzed through that pack.
He did, and he still maintained that soft tires as much as most of the people on the mediums, which was the surprise.
He did good. He did good.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I really don't know what happened to George Russell because he maintained in that pack of that P3 to P5 throughout the first stint.
Yeah.
The second half, the second stint on the hards kind of fell off.
Yeah.
And then the questionable call, I don't know if they were nursing an issue, but he went into the pits with like 10 laps to go or something.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. And then to get back on the softs, and he was already in P4 at that time. And he went back and dropped to like P6 behind or in front of Hamilton.
Maybe he thought he could have gotten a few extra spots because people have been nursing the hard tires, or maybe he's going for fastest lap. Yeah, weird one.
Weird one because even pace-wise, yes, he was losing a bit to the like Checo and I think it was Carlos at that time. But like even if he just maintained that for the next 15 laps, I think he would have secured that position. So it was a weird call. Even Palmer was like, what are they doing right now?
You're risking a lot. I do know though, Mercedes had 2 different setups. Lewis wanted a more downforce setup.
Yeah.
So George was a lot faster in qualifying. Stick your tires, fresher tires. He was able to maintain the speed. Lewis had too much downforce because even today he was giving out he had no top end speed. But Lewis, give him credit. He had that infringement. He got a 3 penalty. Was it 3 or 4?
3, 3 grids penalty.
And he worked up through the pack. So if you look at George, where George was starting and where George had finished, George worked backwards.
He went
Lewis
bad.
climbed.
Yeah.
That Mercedes car is strong. Next weekend, a lot of high-speed straights. You're going to have him up there. Will Red Bull be there? Ferrari were in the mix today, and Sainz drove brilliantly.
That's what I really want to talk about Ferrari because what happened? I mean, it was on nobody's card that they were even going to finish in the top 5 because of how much they were struggling in the previous races. And summer break, usually nothing happens because it is a break and it is closed. So it's not like they brought massive upgrades for them to be like, all right, we're going to be fighting in the top. I think they were the second best car other than McLaren's. They had the pace. Like, you can't even count Max because, again, he's out driving a car because if you're going to go constructors, you match with Checo's and you're like, well, they're like 4th best.
You still, no, I'd say Ferrari are 4th best. You got to think McLaren right now.
Yeah.
I'd still give it to Red Bull. And then you have Mercedes, and then you have Ferrari. Or maybe it's McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. Yeah. I think Ferrari's the 4th best car in the grid.
No, I meant for this race. I think for this race, I think they were the second best car. If we're looking at just pace. Because look what both Charles and Sainz did this weekend.
I think Sainz was unlucky because he was like setting fastest laps. He was driving brilliantly. Yeah. It was a tough one. He was too far at the back of the pack to make moves. Another standout one was Gasly. Gasly made some decent moves. And he drove well today.
He finished the points, no?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. I think he was 9th. Yeah, no,
Nice.
Gasly did well.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about Williams? And even before we get to the qualifying, they're already on one leg.
I mean, yes, Logan, I think he's on his way out. So I think right now he just can care less. He's just
no, I don't think he could care less.
Yeah.
I agree with you that after the summer break he probably knows he's out, but that was an horrendous crash. So you're coming back after the season. You're probably giving a lot of pep talks. Look, we got to cut down on the crash damage. We need to maintain the development or whatever. In Q3, it's raining. I actually wasn't watching the practice, but I watched the replay. He was so much on the curb, and he was still giving a throttle.
This was the same thing he did in Japan.
Was it?
Yep. He went on the grass, coming on an uphill. Boom. Snap.
Oh, man.
Destroyed the car.
It is unlucky, but like that car was a write-off.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, that's why I said, I don't know. It can be polar opposites. It's either he's like, I'm done and I'm just going to be here for 9 more races or 10 more races and just clock in, clock out. Or is he just trying so hard to prove to everybody he still belongs and he's just making these unnecessary errors? But then you look on the outside view or like the overall grand view and you're like, they did a fantastic qualifying with Albon just for them to be disqualified. It's
unbelievable qualifying.
It's becoming like a team thing now where it's now the team is making these unnecessary mistakes that are costing them. Because again, like we're talking about points. Every point will matter, especially in the constructors. And they're just giving it away.
You got to think, I think Vowles has got to feel some heat because Albon being disqualified, as you said, that's a team issue. There's like, even I read the FIA report and they measured and they found measurements that was outside the regulation. And I was like, well, we did our own measurements and we calculated it differently. Sure, you can disagree, but like that, sure, shit happens. Excuse the language.
No.
Things happen. But then Albon gets out of qualifying and then Logan just completely writes the car off. So like the rumor is now that is it going to be Liam Lawson? Someone said that Vowles is in talks with Red Bull. But then you also got to think Mick Schumacher. Mick Schumacher is a Mercedes reserve, Mercedes Academy. Williams is still under the umbrella of the Mercedes Academy. I don't know. Mick Schumacher making a little comeback, maybe?
I think it's easier for Liam Lawson or for Vowles. He's like, well, I really just need someone for 9 races.
Yeah.
And they've already seen Liam Lawson for 6-7 races last year.
Good.
And he was fantastic. Didn't bend. He didn't crash. He kept it on.
Pushed Yuki.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then we already know Mick's history. He hasn't been in a car for 2 years now.
He's been out of touch. Yeah,
exactly. Where you have Liam Lawson, who's ready to go. He's had that within that 6 month, 7 month off period, and you're only worried about just loaning him out for a few races. If I was James, I would go with that secure route of loaning him out.
So do we think Logan's going to make it through the rest of the season, or do you think he's going to be cut earlier than expected?
I think they're probably going to give him another week like Monza to see if he does anything stupid. If he does bin it again, I think he's gone. Because like at that point, the cost cap, they have to worry about cost cap. They need to have 2 cars finish every race. That's literally it at that point.
I don't want to be cruel to Logan, but like, and it's tough. Rookie.
Yeah.
But I think it's opportunity for Mick Schumacher or Liam Lawson. Let's see what they got.
Yep.
Because I think it's not that Logan, I don't think he's given up. And I do think he's still probably trying to prove himself.
Yep.
But it's just, as a team like Williams, it's too costly.
Yeah.
And even see the fault of Red Bull and Checo making the mistakes. It's probably hindering their production costs now or their development.
Thankfully, this week he had somewhat of a clean race and he didn't cause any damage.
No, it was good.
So that's a part of our Checo moment. That was a check.
Yeah, check. There you go. Yeah.
That was there.
This is actually a very clean race. Like, I don't think there's any
safety cars.
Yeah, there's no safety cars.
Yeah. I think it was who was that? Magnussen was the only one who went off. That was it. Everyone kept it on track near the beginning of the race.
Near the beginning of the race.
That was it. Everyone kept it on track. There was no mechanical DNFs, nothing. Which was good because this is where we start to see a lot of failures. The second half of the season, a lot of cars or a lot of teams are pushing the same units, the same parts because they don't want to go over. So it's good to see, and I really hope that Williams really fixes their issues and stop making these silly mistakes because I would love to see them. And I made a bet at the beginning of the season saying one of them is going to finish on the podium. Now, I don't think that's ever going to happen in the next 9 races, but even to see them in the top 5, that would be amazing.
I think it's good to see that like Albon can get the qualifying. He can get into Q2. I think Val said at the start of the season, they're rebuilding the team for next year. And you can see they have changed a lot. Like last year, they had the top end speed. They don't have that anymore. But Albon's able to fight a little bit more. But Williams and Haas, they really are fine together. Like Hulkenberg is like, gotta give him credit. He's driving astonishingly well.
Oh my God. What was it? 52 laps on those hards?
Insane.
Bonkers.
It's insane.
Absolutely amazing. And then we have a new signing. Jack Doohan is finally taking that Alpine seat.
Oh yeah. That's big news. That's big. That's
finally.
big.
I mean, I think he was one of those drivers that
he deserved it.
He deserved it.
Yeah.
He deserved it.
That's the funny thing. There's so many people that deserve a seat. Like Liam Lawson had his opportunity, then it got taken away. Now he's sitting on the sideline. You have Jack getting to Alpine. There's so many deserving drivers that you want to have an opportunity. That's why when we talk about Logan, it's sad to see him struggle, but then you have to also look at the sideline. There's been guys sitting there waiting for their opportunity. Yep. That's why it's kind of time to let them get
in there. Well, then you have some old drivers still taking spots. Like, I mean, Valtteri hasn't been confirmed anywhere, but he's one of those drivers that technically is taking from those young drivers. Yeah, he's in his like career path where he's clocking in. If he has a good car, we know he's a great driver and he'll get you points. I don't know if he still has that oomph that will get you a win, even if he has a competitive car anymore. So it's like, well, do we?
His input's valuable for team building, though. Because if you have a senior and then a junior, like let's just say Joe's not there next year and you have a rookie, you kind of do need the Valtteri, that senior guy that can talk to the mechanics.
Well, you got Hulk, though.
That's true, actually. No, that's a good point, actually. That's a good point. I'm actually very curious to see Albon, this year. Yeah. He's been top dog. I don't know, he has the pressure to be on like to run that team, but he doesn't have the pressure of his teammate challenging him. Next year, you've got Sainz coming in there. Sainz is a phenomenal driver. Yeah. So I would love to see that dynamic if he's out qualifying Albon. Albon's technically the top dog of that team. Let's see how that goes. So it could be a cool dynamic. But I think both of those characters will play well together. I think it'll be a new bromance like Lando and Sainz. It will be Albon and Sainz. Yeah.
I mean, Carlos, it's quite rare for him to make enemies. I mean, every teammate he has had, he's been great friends with. I think Charles is the one that got tested a few times.
Well, yeah, they tested that relationship on track multiple times.
A lot. But other than that, I mean, next week we got Monza. It's one of those iconic races. It's an Italian home race. Ferrari's, I mean, from this weekend going into the next few days, I think they're looking happy. They're looking, well, if we can show pace and a track that has everything like Zandvoort, then Monza with those straights, they have fantastic straight line speed. Those sweeping corners, I think, are the ones that they're going to have to struggle with. But honestly, it can be anyone's race because of those strengths.
Who's going to be next weekend then?
I think it's going to be, I mean, from what we saw this weekend, I don't think anyone's touching Lando. I don't even want to say McLaren because it's really iffy with Piastri. I think if Red Bull has the right window with their straight line speed and their tires can be nursed well, I think Max is going to finish another P2. I still think Lando's P1 at this point. Again, we'll have to see what FP1, FP2, FP3 will show us in pace, long pace. And then I think a Mercedes might surprise us in there. Or Ferraris.
I think Mercedes could be a little bit of a dark horse because they'll just go to real low downforce and maybe do something like, I don't know the weather, but like if it got a bit of rain, but I think you have to go outside the 2-stop and see if you can win stop. Like see what George did in Spa, like something like that. That would be cool. That's what throws a little spanner in the works. It makes it a little bit spicy.
I think a track like that, it might be hard because there's a lot of straights. You're going to be in a lot of dirty air. And those front tires are going to be abused.
Could turn into a snooze fest. Yeah. Let's hope it doesn't.
I think it will. I mean, last year we had fantastic racing because the two Ferraris were at it.
Oh, yeah, it was good.
Which, I mean, I think everyone was on the edge of their seat because I think they touched a few times and they still finished.
Yeah, no, it was good.
And who was it? Max won, right?
I have very bad memory.
Yeah, I think Max won. And and then Carlos might have came second.
Honestly, I don't want to comment because I can't really remember.
So it would be interesting. I'm actually excited, and there's some rumors that driver signs will be happening. I know we've had an initial.
Who are we waiting on right now?
I think Kimi is potentially going to be announced for
Mercedes
at his home race next week, and then I think we have the Kick Sauber left.
Oh yeah,
and then who else? We have one more seat left.
Like my brain is going absolutely blank right now.
Yeah, wait. Haas Oh, Haas, the second driver.
Oh, for
no, Esteban and Ollie.
Yeah, Esteban Ollie. So, and then who's for Haas? Haas is going to be Magnussen is gone. Hulkenberg left.
Yeah. So Esteban and
oh, sorry, my bad.
Ollie
yeah.
are for Haas. So who's left? Williams just got confirmed.
So who's going with Audi then? Because it's going to be Hulk and who?
That's that second driver that has yet to be signed. Oh yeah, it was Mercedes. I think they will announce Kimi next week.
Kimi's locked in for Mercedes?
I'm pretty sure because I think he what's his name? Toto exposed it. He's like, for next year we have George and Kimi willing to fight or something. He
did he?
But I think by accident dropped that line. So everyone's like, all right, well,
why didn't they get signs? I still don't get that. Like, why didn't someone pick up signs? Like Williams, I understand.
They offered him, I think, a short term. Both Red Bull. I think he said Carlos or his dad said that Red Bull wasn't going to offer him anything immediate, and then Mercedes offered him something very short, and he wanted a long term deal.
So Yuki and Ricardo are locked in then
for next year. But Marco said that
Checo messes up.
Liam Lawson will be in a car next year.
Oh, he said that?
Yeah. This weekend. So that means they're just going to they're probably going to give Yuki, I think Yuki's secured. I think they're going to give Daniel like a 5 race, show us what you got. If not, you're booted. Huh? Yeah. Damn. I think they're going to keep Checo at this point because now that if they still had a dominant car and he was doing what he's done in the last few races, they would have booted him. But now he has a good excuse. The team has a good excuse to be like, look.
If Checo does what he did today and he's like top 5, top 6.
That's what we want from
that's what you want.
A second driver.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this weekend.
Yeah.
Super excited for the next 9 races.
Yeah.
Championship is really close. Constructors and drivers, 70 points can be wiped up like this in a few races.
One DNF from Max. It's all open.
It's open.
It's all open. Yeah.
And I think they need to worry. I think Red Bull's like showing a chill face right
worried.
now.
100%.
But you should be worried. So yeah, I'm excited. Let's see where it goes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and do all the above. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.